welcome to our Food Council, or rather our Food Recovery Collaborative meeting number 3. This is an opportunity for anyone in the county who is doing food recovery, interested in food recovery, to come together to discuss opportunities, challenges, barriers, silos, all of those good things. Today we are very grateful to be joined by some great organizations that are going to provide us with some information about work done outside of Montgomery County, but really informs different models and ways of looking at how this work is done. And then that is going to be followed by a very brave open discussion time where we will be providing some prompts and having a discussion really around information sharing, perceptions about what that has looked like in the past, what we all want to see out of sharing information as a community around these issues, and then really what that means in practical terms as the Food Council is undergoing a landscape assessment. I'm sure you've all heard us talk about this EPA grant we have, and really sort of talking about what does that look like to share information and report out to the greater the public about our work here. And then finally, we will have our friends from OFSR to guide us through some of the issues we'll talk about here around definitions of food recovery, reporting on food recovery efforts, and the like. So all excited to jump into that. Bear with me as I get my agenda in front of us so I can do this properly. All right, why don't we kick things off with our first presenter. We have Eva Reynolds here, who's the DC site coordinator for Food Rescue US. So Eva, I will pass it over to you. And did you need us to share slides, or are you able to do that, or did you have slides?
I don't have them up. I thought they would be. So if you have
Okay,
them up to share, that'd be perfect.
fantastic. Vita, are you able to manage that? Great. And give us a second. We still have a couple more people sort of joining us as well. When you're ready, Vita. Thanks to all who have put their names in the chat. If you're just joining us and want to just sort of introduce yourself there, we keep attendance, but it's always nice to see who's there for the rest of the attendees. All right. Still some more people filtering in, folks. Thanks for joining us. If you just want to introduce yourself in the chat, Eva, go ahead and take it away.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Hi, my name is Eva Reynolds. I am currently the site coordinator for Food Rescue US DC, which I recognize a lot of names in the Zoom already, so I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with us. And one thing that we spoke with in our last discussion with the Montgomery County Collaborative was we are undergoing a bit of a transition, and so while it is not a fully public announcement yet, given that everyone in this room is kind of in the same space as us, if not already working with us, it felt appropriate to go ahead and talk about what's coming next, kind of a sneak preview of what we're doing right now. Hence why the title of the presentation is, in fact, DC Food Rescue, rather than Food Rescue US -DC, which it has been for the past 10 years, and which everyone got wrong anyway. So if anything, we're just simplifying the name. But we'll start with just an overview for those not yet familiar with us. Next slide. Thank you. So essentially, we operate our entire food recovery program. I don't think I need to explain food rescue or food recovery to anyone in this room. So essentially, the way we operate specifically is that we run everything through the Food Rescue US app. It's a proprietary app. Maintained by the National Food Rescue US organization, which is kind of multiple satellite sites, which until now we have been their DC site. But we're going to continue licensing their app because it's very, very useful and has all the history of what we've been doing over the past 10 years in the DMV. So basically, we partner with any kind of business that has surplus food to donate. So besides the obvious, retailers, restaurants, bakeries, we have really carved a niche for ourselves among corporate cafeterias, given all the office buildings in the DC area. So many of them have cafeterias or other means of dining services where they would otherwise be throwing their food out on Friday because they're closed over the weekend. So we often do weekly or twice a week pickups from cafeterias and such. But anyway, we work with any kind of business. We do not take food from private homes. And once a business wants to establish a relationship with us, it's free, of course, we're nonprofit, and they register with us as a food donor. And then when they want to donate, be it on an ad hoc basis or on a recurring schedule, we then match them to a partner, what we call a receiving agency, community partner that will be responsible for redistributing the food to people experiencing food insecurity. So from homeless shelters, drop-in shelters, food pantries, lots of low-income housing, after-school programs. We kind of are very, very flexible with who we're willing to give food to, even like mutual aids, as long as we know the food is being given out for free to people who are experiencing some level of need or constrained access. And then rather than having a warehouse or operating our own distribution or anything like that, we are just responsible for essentially the logistics and the transfer of the food. So we organize our volunteer food rescuers to pick up the food and deliver it directly to the organization that we want it to benefit. The food rescuers do that themselves, so they sign up in the app as a volunteer. They can browse the entire schedule of available options, pick and choose based on what's convenient for them, what size car they have, etc. So it's an extremely flexible kind of self-initiative kind of autonomous way of volunteering. And then that's it. They just follow our instructions and they drop off the food and they've made an impact with just about an hour of effort. So it's a very convenient model in that sense. We can go to the next slide. And so, yeah, just some of the kind of, again, given that this is a room of people doing food recovery and food rescue work, what are some of our more distinct elements? Again, first off, that direct transfer, the fact that the food is not going to a middle, we are not asking for it to stop at a middle point, is going directly to the place that is going to be either, immediately serving it or immediately putting it in refrigeration or what have you, immediately utilizing it. We also don't require our partners to be 501c3s or anything of that nature, so it's a very low barrier to entry. As far as, as long as you demonstrate that the food is being put to good use and for free, we're happy to work with you. Again, very convenient for our volunteers. We also have bike-friendly options, so if it's somewhere like a bakery that we know it's not worth driving an SUV over to pick up a bag of pastries, we like to engage our bikers as much as we can, especially in DC itself being such a bike-friendly city. And it's very flexible. So again, food donors, they don't have to sign up for a weekly donation. They can do it ad hoc if they have events or conferences or a missed delivery even of an ingredient. And volunteers likewise, again, can pick and choose when they want to engage. So next slide. And again, it's very straightforward. So currently it's a web-based app, although it is going to be entering the App Store this year. But it's basically you just sign up at the website, and if you want to use it like a mobile app, you can add it as a widget for that, or you just use it like a website to sign up, again, browse, pick and choose, follow all the instructions that we lay out right there, including instructions to call us if anything goes amiss, and we'll try to troubleshoot. And then you just report how much food you picked up. And we don't require our volunteers to use scales. They just kind of give their best guess. Some food donors also weigh the food and will then tell them what it weighed. So we always, whenever we're sharing our impact data, we always have the caveat of that these are all estimates. Next slide. And just a couple quick testimonials, right? We all love testimonials. I mean, it's just really nice to see how, again, we have a Rockville volunteer, Nova, we work all across the DMV. So it's just we really appreciate how our volunteers are just excited by the enthusiasm that they encounter when they're dropping off the food, the fact that the food is going to a place that really values it, as well as the fact that, a lot of people will engage their families, bring kids or students along to kind of show them how easy it is to volunteer and how easy it is to get involved in your community. Next slide. So again, we launched in the DC area in 2016. So come this fall, it'll be our 10th year. And we have recovered to date 15 million pounds of food in 10 years, which we are very proud of. And so I will say also over time, we've gotten better and better at refining the estimates of weight that we assign in the app. It used to be a very kind of loose, like you weren't estimating pounds, you were just saying boxes of food. It was a little less precise. And so now, if you look over time, I think some years in the past might have been bigger than this one. But I'd say over time, we've certainly grown the number of rescues that we're doing. We're just getting better about the metrics. And then also, best case scenario is when a business learns from what it's donating and generates less and less surplus to be donated. So in some ways, we're happy when that number goes down. But yeah, so last year alone, 234 food donors donated food to be rescued. We served 194 community partners across the DMV. We had 471 volunteers who did at least one food rescue. Again, we have a database of some 2,000 volunteers. So, but this is the way volunteering goes is we can get about 300 to 400 of them any year actually doing rescues, which is nice. And then, yeah, last year was about 2.34 million pounds of food recovered across the DMV. So next slide, just a little spotlight on Montgomery County. So year to date for 2026, we currently have 13 food donors that have donated. Again, there's kind of some examples of them on the top of the screen. And they have donated some 25,000 pounds of food in this first quarter of the year. And then we have served 11 community partners in Montgomery County, and they've received about 29,000 pounds of food. And so you see these numbers are not one-to-one because we do have some cross-boundary donations happening. For instance, for a long time, we had a volunteer who's on the board of Stepping Stones Shelter in Rockville, and he would pick up food from a grocery store that was just on the edge almost of DC. And then he would come split the donation between Stepping Stones Shelter and the Interfaith Works Essential Needs Center. So again, it's not exactly a one-to-one, but it's more DC food coming into Maryland than it is Montgomery food going out of MoCo. Next slide. So what's next? So again, we are splitting off from Food Rescue US National well, first of all, so we are splitting off and we are forming a new organization called Every Neighbor United for Food. And within that organization, DC Food Rescue is going to be a program. And some people have struggled to wrap their heads around this. I have said it like Every Neighbor United for Food is going to be the Girl Scouts, and then DC Food Rescue is going to be the cookies, right? It's a program of it. And the whole point is to open the door to create more programs or projects in the future to just do other activities than simply rescuing food, perhaps developing something that addresses more of the root causes of food insecurity and food waste, or just basically broaden the scope of what we could be doing, as well as expanding our team beyond the parameters of employees that Food Rescue US allows, frankly. And it also simplifies, everyone here I'm sure is familiar with applying to grants and how it can be difficult if you have a headquarters in Connecticut, but you're a DC-based operation. How do you qualify for a DC-based grant? So now we're going to be wholly based in DC, very, clear cut. All of the money is staying in the DMV area. Everything is a very hyper-localized impact. And again, we are going to be licensing the Food Rescue US app, so we still have a relationship to them. We're not cutting ties, we're graduating essentially. And there's going to be no change for our volunteers. Everyone can keep using the app. It's like on the day-to-day business, it's really the same. We're just going to have a new look, a new name, and get to do more fun things in the future. So next slide. So yeah, that's everything. Again, these are the ways to follow us currently. We are going to be changing our social media handles, but I think we should be able to change them all, not have to create new things from scratch. So if you follow now, it should just switch over. And I've dropped my email in the chat as well. But yeah, I don't know if we have time for questions or if we're going to save that for the end.
We definitely have time for questions. And I first just wanted to thank you for the scoop and for, for being so open and transparent about where your organization is going. I think we're all excited to see you grow in that direction. And I have questions, but I'm going to not ask them first to see if any of our participants um, want to chime in. Feel free to raise your hand, or if there's a question you would like to put in the chat. Anything? Any Chow Match users out there who have questions about the platform that they're using in DC, or things that you've noticed that you would like to see in our platform that you might question whether is available in others?
I'm just going to say that I definitely saw the names of some providers that I believe are using both. And I don't know if anyone from those organizations are on the call right now, but I think it would be really great to hear, you know, pros and or cons of what you see, kind of how you feel they might be similar or differ and how that works for you. But I may not be joined by someone. Just check the list.
But we're taking notes, so we're gonna we're gonna ask those questions. Go ahead, Lorian. Did you have a question?
Did. Ava, thank you very much for such an informative presentation. And I just wondered, the Food Council is recruiting food runner volunteers, and we have had a few questions about bicycle transport. And I noticed you said that you all use food runners for bicycles. So I'm just wondering how that works in terms of like matching food runners to the sites and how
Yeah,
you do that.
yeah, definitely. It's actually been a process that we have really pushed for Food Rescue US in the app development. It used to be basically the most obvious examples, I'll just keep referencing them, are like Call Your Mother Deli and Tate cafes, right? Like you're getting a bag or two of pastries. Very, very easy, especially when bikers have trailers or, other, bigger baskets, things like that. Um, so it used to be that we just had to like type in parentheses, like Call Your Mother Deli, parentheses, bikeable. But we get, pushed, got the app developers to listen and recognize that given Happy Earth Day, given our mission of sustainability and curbing carbon emissions, it just makes more sense to really incentivize biking more. So the way the app works is you can filter by vehicle type. And we include bicycle as a vehicle now. So that's basically how it's me or Kate have usually done a rescue. Any rescue in the system, there's a 90% chance Kate and I have done it ourselves already. Kate being the site director, sorry, she couldn't join our call because she's doing a different Earth Day thing right now. So we basically, or if volunteers, they take pictures and they report small amounts, it's basically a matter of knowing how it's packaged as well as what the general size is. Because even something that's small, if it's really delicate, you don't want someone squishing it under bungee cords or panniers. And we do every now and then, not lately, but there were definitely points when we would sometimes get texts from volunteers saying, I'm here with my bike and I can't take all of this and I don't have time to make two trips, which it's just a learning curve, right? But yeah, the short answer is just having that vehicle designation, having an option to filter for it, and just learning from feedback or from personal experience what would make sense. And I will say also, there is also the street factor, right? In DC, again, we have fair amount of bike lanes. Um, but we used to, this the We the Pizza in Crystal City donates about 2 boxes of pizza at a time. That's very easy to fit on a bike. And so we set it as bikeable for a while. And then, especially when we were launching the program or the new, filter, we really wanted to get as many bicycles in there as possible. And then one of the shelters that it goes to is on Columbia Pike. And I don't know if there are a lot of Arlingtonians in this room, but it is not easy to bike from Crystal City to like that Columbia Pike area. So we get all these people being like, please don't advertise this as a bikeable rescue. So there is a little element of knowing the streets, knowing the bike lanes, knowing the bike trails.
Ava, we do have a question in the chat. How do you maintain and retain volunteers? Please elaborate more.
Yes, excellent question. As again, I alluded to, given that we are engaging kind of 300 to 400 a year, again, 471 last year was the number of people who did at least one rescue. I think if you enhanced it to doing at least two rescues, you fall down to like 400 or maybe even just under 400. So volunteer engage out of like 2,200 who have registered out of the goodness of their hearts. So it is tough for sure. We try to organize like kind of volunteer get-togethers a couple times a year, over coffee or like happy hours, just to kind of gather everyone in a room. Again, our program is so independent. You sign up, you pick up food, you drop it off. There's no like working in a warehouse together, packing grocery bags. There's not much of a communal aspect unless you bring a friend. And so we do try to facilitate gatherings. Every now and then, well, we also just text people, we text a lot. And we just try to send people like, thank yous, or like, oh my gosh, you just claimed that rescue we were worried about. Thank you so much. And we do little shout outs on social media where we can. But I mean, it's definitely an ongoing problem of how to keep volunteers engaged, how to engage volunteers that never got very active in the first place or that they lapsed over time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
we do. Oh, sorry. I was going to say, we do have another
opportunity.
question in the chat, but I did just want to ask before we move off of volunteers, do you see a difference between volunteers from DC versus Montgomery County, just based on your, your outreach and where things are located, but just trying to get a sense of what if you have a sense of percentage at all?
Oh, like how many? Ooh, that's tough. Because
Okay.
we,
That's a
yeah, because
follow-up.
yeah, because it's like we generally have like way more. I'd say I think if you were to organize like the number, because we have about I think we're at about 300 or 400 food rescues a week, if I remember correctly. Yeah, we're at like 14 to 1,500 a month. Um, and so I would say in order, it's probably the most are in DC, then Nova, and then Montgomery County, or then Maryland in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I was just going to say this is a lovely tease for an upcoming training that the Food Council is doing in partnership with the Montgomery County Volunteer Center. So
Yes.
we do see a couple more questions in the chat about volunteers, and save those and come to our next food security call and the training that follows that. I am looking at the clock, but I'm also looking at the question that Gabby asked about whether you work with only small agencies or also deliver directly or match with clients themselves. So if you could answer that one quickly, that's a great question.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it quick. Yes, we do. It's not dissimilar from what the food bank does with Partner Direct. We just don't have a name for it. But generally, the short answer is we cannot expect, because we ask volunteers to use their own vehicles. We don't have a fleet or anything. And we just generally can't assume that any volunteer has a truck. We know like we have a short list, but yeah, basically any kind of grocery store that we're working with that we know is a high volume grocery store, such as Wegmans or Trader Joe's, we'll match it to a community partner that can send its own vehicle or like two vehicles to pick it up, because yeah, it's just too, yeah, so yes, we do that.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate the information and the future partnership as you grow and expand your work. I think we would love to, have you continue to be a part of our collective as well. It sounds like you all have a wealth of knowledge to share, and I think we can all learn from each other. So just thank you so much for coming here today. And we are now going to turn it over to Sarah Corbin, who is with, I knew I was going to do this because all of your food rescue organizations all have very similar names. And the second I think I have it in my brain with Food Recovery Network. And I do believe Food Recovery Network might be our origin story here in Montgomery County around how we got started with food recovery. If anyone is interested in that history, I'm sure we can dive into that at some point. But Sarah, welcome and thank you, and take it away. And did you need to share us to share slides, or do you?
I have my slides up and ready to go.
Great.
Oh, but I need to have access to be able to share. So if you could give me permission, then I will share.
I am looking for that and I can't find it.
I think if you click on the
Same.
dots next to my name.
Yeah, no, we usually are allowed to make you a co-host, and that is not coming up in my options.
Well, I can. There you go.
Oh, perfect.
Okay. Here we go. And I have, hopefully we see that we share the right, there's so many options to share. Hello, everyone. Can you see?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm the Director of Communications for Food Recovery Network. And as the Director of Communications, I work with 3 screens. And so when Zoom asks me which screen I would like to share, there are lots of options. I've been with Food Recovery Network just going on 2 years. I've been in the hunger relief space a little bit longer than that, but we won't go into any resume. So just a little bit more about me. You know, I feel very close to hunger relief, and I'm really grateful to be able to work with Food Recovery Network to support their mission. Next one. So about us and a bit about the origin story. Food Recovery Network is the largest student-led movement reducing food waste and ending hunger in the U.S. We have about 230 college student chapters across the country. We have an active 8,000 volunteers, partners, a network, and we kind of qualify that network every year. And we did start at the University of Maryland. It was 15 years ago this September. That's a milestone where students at the University of Maryland College Park saw food going to waste in their college dining hall. And they said, oh, we know we have people who are hungry in our community. What can we do about that? And then just word spread between their friends. And that's how we've grown our network. Oh, you know what? I should have realized that this was the history slide. So there we go. It was 5 students. This nice little picture right here in the left-hand corner. We have operated all the way through the pandemic. Certainly it looked a little bit differently on college student campuses when many of them were closed, but students really continued to recover food and take care of people in their communities. And also a fun milestone, we recovered over 20 million meals this past, I think it was December. We hit that 20 million meal mark, which is great. A little bit more statistics. We work with about 330 hunger fighting organizations across the country. You know, through our event services program, through each of our college student chapters, we're donating food to local hunger fighting agencies. Whether that's a food bank or a women's shelter, they all vary. We have about 100 food business partners, and we do track our CO2 emissions. Today on Earth Day, we are very proud that, you know, that contribution to our world, our global climate change, not the contribution to global climate change, but, you know, is a part of our mission. Okay. Oh, this is just a little bit more about our community nationwide impact. You can kind of see the map of our college and university chapters. our elementary school produce distribution, and our food recovery verified business partners. I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. Again, our mission focus is food waste and recovery, hunger relief, and climate action. And all of that is driven by student leadership. And so this is a little bit about some of our programs. We do, our largest program is our college student chapter program. We're expanding into community colleges. We have now about 30 community colleges. We also do business and event food recovery. So we call it our food recovery verified program. We will verify a business to give them a nice little seal that says we are following good food recovery practices. We'll help that business develop a plan if they need one. But we also do large scale event recovery as a part of this program. So we recovered about 12,000 pounds in one day. On Super Bowl Sunday, we recover from the tailgates that are associated with that. So that's a pretty fun day. And then we have this Title I elementary school produce distribution program that we have rolled out from city to city. Currently, today, we are doing our largest ever produce distribution in Baltimore. We're going to bag up 10,000 pounds of surplus produce that we have gathered from Hungry Harvest, and that'll be going to students in 10 different Baltimore City elementary schools. So our food recovery model is college student volunteers and food business leaders recover food from their campuses and communities. This is the same as everybody's model. Students then transport that locally recovered surplus food and deliver it to a nonprofit partner. And this is just a little quote from a student at Loyola. There are so many reasons as to why I recover food with FRN and why I belong to this organization throughout my 4 years of college. First and foremost, it's because of the direct impact that our recoveries have in the community. For example, this past weekend, we recovered approximately 360 pounds of food. Thinking about just the sheer number of people that could get fed from 360 pounds motivates me to return. About 65% of our college students, oh, this is the list of folks in Maryland. About 65% of our college student chapters actually recover food and provide it directly back to campus pantries and campus community fridges. And I think a lot of our stories from our students that are involved, we hear that they have experienced hunger at some point in their life, and that really motivated them to get involved with Food Recovery Network. This is just, we do presentations for all kinds of organizations and people that don't necessarily understand about food recovery. And so here are some personal things that we can all do, maybe as a part of Earth Day at your next event, or if you're planning an event, ask ahead of time, what are we going to do with the leftovers? We also suggest that people make leftovers the celebration. A number of people on our team have held leftover potlucks. Our COO held a leftover charcuterie party for New Year's Day. She set out all kinds of boards, and friends just brought whatever they had, like if they had leftover dates. Who doesn't have extra dates in their pantry? I have tons of dates. If someone asked me to bring them, I'd be very happy to. Also, ensure that your celebration offers to-go containers. We do this for all of my family parties now because as a big Italian family, we way overcook. Who doesn't though? You never want to run out of food at a celebration. You can hire FRN, and then of course you can follow and share the work of FRN. We have our social media handles here. Oh, this is the same. Just a little bit about our certifications of trust and accountability, and a last thank you so much slide. So I went through that pretty quickly. I don't know if there were questions in the chat as we were going along, but I'm happy to answer any.
This time I will kick it off because I am very curious. how do the college campuses themselves, administration-wide, get involved in this? Are they perhaps donating, or not donating? Are students allowed to use like college facilities or vehicles or something to help in these efforts? Or is this a totally student-driven program?
Well, with 230 chapters, they all work a little bit differently. I would say the majority are student run. It's a group of students that get together and get their club approved through school administration. Sometimes it works the other way. And of course, our chapters that have been around a long time usually have a nice advisor that sort of helps to keep that chapter going year over year by recruiting students. But as FRN National, we really work with students on succession planning right from the beginning. We talk a lot about how are you going to make sure that as you graduate, this is handled and handed down to the next set of students. Okay, what did I miss? What did I miss? Did I miss answering? Oh, our community college program is working a little bit differently because they have such a short lead time. There's 2 years. We actually have a grant-based program where we contribute funds for that chapter to run. So we have some grant partners that allow us to offer at least $2,500 for any community college chapter. And then they often will pay students. So out of our 10 cohort members currently, I think about 65% are using some of that grant fund to pay students to recover food.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Sort of, yeah. Full circle support here.
Right. I will say, I guess too, in terms of student payment, anytime we have a Food Recovery Network event recovery that we're doing, a large scale event, we will invite alumni and students to to participate, and we pay them for that time as well. So currently it's Loyola, Maryland students that are helping out in Baltimore, and they will get paid to travel to the produce distribution and for their time.
And just to sort of tie the thread together, I do believe it was because of the efforts at the University of Maryland that really caught the attention of county government in Montgomery County. And that is what spurred on the investment in community food rescue. So it really was a direct correlation between what those students were doing and where we all sit today. So huge thanks to those students and for your organization for getting us here. Again, looking at the clock, we're sort of right on time here, but I did want to open it up for any other questions that folks might have.
I had a quick question. I'm just curious, we use the refed waste impact calculator to get our CO2 emissions stat. So I was just wondering what you guys use.
Yes, we also use that. And I'm sure, Eva, you went through the change last year where they changed how they did the calculations. So yes, we use that. And they recently added gallons of water, so you'll start to see that on some of our communications as well.
Same. Cool. Thanks.
Carol, you look like you have a question face on. Is that no? Okay. Just wanted to check. Thanks again for that. And I think we do win the award for biggest missed opportunity at the intro to this call without even recognizing that today is Earth Day. I think because we have so many Earth Day celebrations happening around the state that I lost sight of the actual day. But yes, happy Earth Day to everyone. And yeah, missed opportunity on that icebreaker. But thanks again to our speakers. Again, I think this just kind of opens our eyes to opportunity and gets us thinking about how we do our work and how we can, continue to invite folks into our big tent here. So huge appreciation for that. We are stop recording now for just a bit. Beat, are you able to go Thank you. You read my mind, Pizza. And I will, Yeti, do you have access to sharing slides or do we need to do that for you?
If you can share the slides, that would be great.
Give us a second.
Okay.
Go ahead and take it.
Thank you. Thanks, Beta. Okay, so I'm Yetunde. I am the food recovery coordinator with OFSR. I'm joined by my colleagues. I believe Catherine Nardi and Juan Cruz are both here on the call, so they are also present. And so really quickly, well, not really quickly, but I'm going to walk us through a few key things. And Beta, you can go to the next slide. Yeah, so I am going to walk us through deadlines, definitions, how to report your data, and this is for our CFA food recovery grantees and our FRNI grantees, and then also a bit about how ChildMatch can make this easier, and also about the ChildMatch tips that will be shared. So it's not going to be anything too heavy, but just a few things to make sure we're all set up for success. Okay, so upcoming reporting deadlines. So the main thing here is just to stay ahead of your dates so nothing sneaks up on you. So for the CFA folks, you're working in quarters, but monthly reports are going to roll up into that. And for our FRNI grantees, your end cycle report is due 7/31/26. And for our CFA folks, Q2 is due May 31st. Okay, thanks, Beta. Next slide. All right, so definitions. These next few slides are going to be kind of like what I would like to describe as cheat sheets. I think the slides will be distributed, but nonetheless, yes. So if you have any doubts, you can come back to these definitions because it looks like most of the reporting issues we have seen has honestly just come down to definitions being interpreted differently. So I want to just go over some of those. All right, so what counts as recovered food? So the key word here is going to be free and directly from a food business. So if it's coming straight from a grocery store, restaurant, farmer, that's direct food recovery. But if it's coming through another organization, it is still valuable, but it's tracked differently. And then I just want to flag that prepared foods have stricter safety rules. So just be mindful of that. Next slide. What does not count as food, as recovered food? So if you paid for it, even if you got it at a discount, it is not recovered food. And this is the same with community donations. So they are very important, but they are not part of this specific metric. And as far as like tracking is concerned, the goal is just to track food that would have otherwise gone to waste. And then I just want to remind you that OFSR funding is tied to food recovery, so it has to support these activities specifically. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is going to be just a review of key terms and as far as like runs and redistribution. So there's a little bit of nuance, but I think that once I explain, it's going to be very straightforward. So a food recovery run is one individual transaction in which an organization picks up or receives a delivery of recovered food directly from the donor. So a food recovery run is one pickup or delivery. So you want to think one trip equals one transaction. An incoming distribution is one instance in which your food recovery organization receives recovered food from another partner organization so that it can be shared with clients receiving food. And an outgoing redistribution is one instance in which your food recovery organization shares recovered food with another food assistance provider so that it can be shared with clients receiving food. So incoming means you're receiving from another organization, and outgoing means you're sharing with another organization. So it's less about the food recovery itself and more so about like how the food is moving. Next slide. These are just a rundown of the required metrics. And so this is effectively what we are asking you to track. So this is who the organization or business is, where it's located, zip code, how much food was recovered, what types of food, and when. And, as with all things, if you keep good records and stay on top of stuff, it makes stuff easy when it comes to reporting time. And just to kind of, I guess, explain on our part, like we're not trying to overburden you, but we do want to make sure that we are telling a clear, consistent story with the data. Next slides. And these next three slides are literally just screenshots of the food recovery data sheets where we would like for you to report your data. So we just really wanted to show what this looks like in practice. So each tab lines up with the definitions I just went over. And if you follow the structure here, you are in great shape. And so food recovery run, you have Giant Food as the donor, organization, business, the zip code, and you can just follow this example and then the other next few slides. Yeah, next slide. It's just another example. Next slide. And then lastly, strengthening your food recovery story with ChowMatch. So ChowMatch is a really powerful tool, and this is where ChowMatch can really do a lot of the heavy lifting for you as far as data tracking. So instead of you having to like go back later and try to piece things together, you can easily log and track your recovered food in real time. It also helps with redistribution. So if you get a donation and you find you can't use it, you can pass it along to another partner using ChowMatch. It helps you to generate ready-to-use reports that you can use for internal and external funding opportunities. And you can also identify new donation opportunities, and it helps strengthen collaboration across the partners, which is why we're all here as part of this collaborative. And then, and we will keep sharing Child Match tips. So if you didn't see in the last newsletter that I believe it was distributed by the Food Council on the 27th of March, it had some Child Match tips in there. So if you're not fully using it yet, this is a great time to start. Last slide. I believe that's my last slide. And then questions. I'm happy to answer any questions. It wasn't as exciting as all the other presentations, but we have to make sure that we go over these things. So
Yeti, this isn't about the presentation, but I know you just went through a food run yourself. Any observations you
yes,
share with the group, having been your own guinea pig?
I did. So yes, I completed my first food run last week. I picked up from the Paris Baguette in Bethesda, and I took it to the Tacoma Park Co-op on behalf of Small Things Matter. And observations, number one, it absolutely gave me a better appreciation for our volunteers. So as far as my Child Match administration goes, like now that I have been the Child Match admin for fully 4 months now, I have really gotten to see the repeat volunteers we have. So we definitely have like some Child Match volunteer champions. And it definitely gave me an appreciation for the dedication of those volunteers because it definitely gave me an appreciation for those volunteers because it is absolutely a labor of love. And I mean, like obviously, but yeah, it took some time. So I think ultimately my biggest takeaway is just I'm very grateful for our volunteers and the people who continuously pick up food runs on a regular basis, especially when we have a bulk order, I mean, a bulk donation day, and there is like tons of food flying out, and they are always ready and willing to take the donations. And yeah, that is it. It was positive experience. I'm hoping to do more food runs. So thanks for that question.
There's nothing like actually living it to understand it, to do it, right? To actually be able to, it's such a valuable lived experience. I did want to say,
Absolutely.
yeah, as we're looking ahead towards the rest of the year and Food Waste Prevention Week, which is happening last week of September, that we did want to do sort of a volunteer appreciation events, some kind of happy hour as part of our programming. And so if you all have, star food runner volunteers that you work with or, want to help us plan this event in any way, we'll be talking more about that as we get closer to that. But September will be here before we know it.
Right.
Anything else? Any other questions for OFSR?
Yes.
I have
Go
a
ahead.
quick question, and sorry I'm off camera. I just am not feeling very well today. But Yeti,
Mhm.
are you collecting estimates or are you requiring partners to weigh pounds?
We are collecting estimates, but I mean, as accurate as you can be would
Mhm.
be preferred. I don't know if Juan wants to speak to that, but yeah.
If Juan's not able, I will say the other announcement is that we are getting closer to issuing a notice of funding opportunity for this Morningstar grant that we have to disperse. And I think it was Eleni from Capital Area Food Bank who really was championing pallet jacks with scales as a great investment for folks, or I believe that's what she was talking about. But anyway, equipment that helps us to measure. So keep that in mind and keep an eye out for that opportunity. Um, Anything else for OFSR or any of our speakers or any of that? Lorian, did you want to let folks know about some upcoming places we'll be publicizing food recovery volunteer work?
Sure. Yeah. As I previously mentioned, the Food Council is recruiting food runner volunteers this year, and we're really excited to have just had a successful day at the Tacoma Park Silver Spring Earth Day event the weekend before last. 2 people signed up right on the spot, and then we have seen 17 people indicated interest, and we're working with them to sign them up. So we're very, we are just excited to be doing it and really seeing where the rubber meets the road with these volunteers, and which Yeti was able to experience on her own too. So we are this Saturday. We are also excited to be joined by Yeti as we are going to be tabling again to recruit more food runner volunteers at the Montgomery County Green Fest event, which is at the Black Rock Center for the Arts. So if you are in the area, please stop by, see us, and continue to celebrate Earth Day. And on May 31st, we will be at the Olney Farmers Market to do more recruiting of food runners in that area. So we welcome any and all suggestions and ideas for your volunteer food runner needs. I know it's just a really like been eye-opening working with the Green and Healthy Homes Initiative EPA grant that Carol was talking about, to hear about, kind of making all the details align and really taking out those roadblocks to getting more donations, and really getting, making all the logistics work out, the types of volunteers, the timing of the volunteers, and seeing how that is functioning. So just, we welcome any and all feedback on that process. And we're just, excited to be trying our best to reduce those barriers and get more donations into the system. So
thanks, Lauren. And I just wanted to reiterate that slides that were shown today will be shared out with everyone, contact information as well. We will try to do that within the next couple days, and then be on the lookout for our newsletter next month. In June, we're hoping to have DEP here to talk to us about some of their efforts, and to have a more organized discussion around donations. And so that will sort of be the focus of that meeting. And just checking the calendar, because we do have a tentative date there. We'll send that out as well in the follow-up and in our newsletter, but it's looking like hopefully June 24th is when we would all gather again to hit those topics. We do hope to see you on Saturday, or at the farmers market in Olney, and at our other upcoming events, as we mentioned, that volunteer training. Anything else, Anne Marie, you want to publicize?
Yeah. So, like Elizabeth mentioned, on the next food security community call taking place on Monday, May 11th, we are going to have a presentation from the Montgomery County Volunteer Center. And that call is going to serve as kind of a prerequisite for a training that they are going to provide for peer learning circle and food recovery collaborative participants around recruiting and maintaining volunteers. So really looking forward to that. They're also sharing a few other dates if for some reason you can't make the call or you can't watch the video in time. There are a few other opportunities we'll share that are taking place in person, where you can kind of get that basic primer information on just knowing how to use their website to post for volunteers. But the really good and special stuff is going to be happening later in the month, and we will get the word out about that shortly.
Thanks, Anne Marie. And thanks to all of you for your continued support of all this programming, for showing up, for participating. We appreciate you all. Thanks to our speakers, Eva and Sarah, and to Yeti and the team at OFSR. And we look forward to seeing you all out and about. So thanks.